from what I can see right now, it began about 8 years ago with a recurring dream. I won't go into the details of the recurring dream yet. I'll just say that over a year or so of having the dream, which was terrifying, I began to just way at the back of my mind, way at the back of my mind, just start to know or suspect that something not quite normal was happening here. And my intuition, over time, maybe starting about 2-3 years ago, my intuition was telling me that this had something to do with extraterrestrials. This was sort of a real rough patch because I literally have nothing to help me fill in any blanks. But this recurring dream is not stopping, and it's sort of evolving over time. And my curiosity and my just need to resolve this is propelling me forward. I'm going to cut forward now to the month of June of this year, where the recurring dream, after having faded away for some time, is coming back in full force. I begin having the dream a lot. This results in an abduction scenario OBE. Just terrifying. It starts by me hearing a voice. And when I hear this, I can hear myself being addressed, and I start to pay a bit more attention, and I come a little bit more awake. And this is when my vision comes in, and I can see that I'm in my room. It's night. I can feel myself. I'm floating up. I'm floating over toward the corner back there by the door. And I'm looking down at these two people, and I'm absolutely terrified and screaming for help. 1, 2, 3 times. And on the third time, I literally, from shock, pass out. So I phase out of consciousness. And a moment later, I phase right back in. And there's almost no gap between this happening. And all I can hear is myself and my mind saying, this is really happening. Oh my God. I'm still conscious. And I think I'm being abducted by aliens. I think we listened to like 5-10 minutes of phone calls into the UFO hotline. And another small conversation about this ensued, and I asked her, have you ever seen anything odd up in the sky? And long story short, I just ended up telling her that, I never really had, not like what I hear other people, saying with, objects and things like that. No, nothing like that. And that night I went to bed, and in the morning had 2 etheric projections, in which I had 2 back-to-back etheric sightings. One was from what appeared to be an alternate reality, Main Street, Santa Monica, although it could have been this one, at a different time, who knows. And the other one was from a park in the Summerlin area of Las Vegas, where I'm from. And the reason I wasn't going to talk about this is because I was quite taken aback by what I saw, and I still haven't integrated the event yet. Found myself on Main Street here in Santa Monica, and it was daytime still, but the sky was very dark, and I was with a guide, man perhaps in his, or who appeared to be in his late 50s, with white blonde hair, dark tan, who I was seeing as a homeless person. I'll cut directly into where I look up into the sky, and I see what looks like, I've just arrived, so I haven't caught up with where I am fully yet. And I'm wondering why the sky is dark and it's still daytime, and I then look up and I see what appears to be a mushroom cloud explosion. I don't know that this is what it is, but this is what it looks like, and I'm looking at it and I'm trying to figure out what it is that I'm seeing. When I turn to go the way that I was supposed to go, I look up in the sky, and from this vantage point I see thousands. The sky is just full of these mushroom-shaped jellyfish-like things that are wafting down from the sky toward the ground. Just thousands, as far as I could see. This is really hard to describe. What I saw, well, the colors up in the sky, let me say, are slate gray and white, like if mist and clouds and stuff were on a gray sky. And as I was looking into this, I began to see a deeper slate gray and a very specific geometrical shape. This is a huge craft that is has this sort of geometric type design to it. Slate gray in color, absolutely enormous, and in front of it are all of these pinhole size dark points. Compared to the craft, they were pinhole size anyway. I took those to be individual craft, and the very large thing to be something more like a mothership. But they're just thousands of them everywhere. And I look to the person I'm with, and I'm asking him, like, do you see that? And he's looking up in the sky, and as he's looking up in the sky, he sees it and goes into a bit of shock himself over what he's seeing, and we crash the car into the park. Some things occur from here as well, and I meet some other people, but the feeling is the same. People are now seeing this, and in shock, feeling to get to safety. It's hard to describe the feeling. I suppose I could say I was still in shock. Not wholly accurate, but something like that. Speechless, not knowing what to think, not really knowing what I just saw, not really knowing what just happened. What I was seeing, was I seeing the etheric of this particular reality and crafts that are actually here in the etheric layer in this specific reality, or a parallel one? The fact that it could have been this particular reality I was seeing the etheric bandwidth of was blowing my mind. And especially in this type of size and number, it was just massive and enormous, and much more than I could comprehend. And I've been trying to integrate this. This past month, especially in these past 10, 14 days, I'm just OBN like mad, like mad. A new piece of information has come through that is showing me in my experiences, or letting me know that in my experiences I'm applying a filter, a visual filter, to see things in the way that my conscious human mind can handle. The reason I'm bringing this up is because in one of my last out of bodies, this was an AT contact experience. And the being that I was with in this particular event was encouraging me to let go of the filter. I had no idea in the experience that I was even applying a filter. And the first thing I see is that there's someone here with me. And the person, and I say person because he looks like a person at first, here with me is a young man, basically the same colorings as myself. And as I come fuller into his energy field, this is what's creating the lucidity in me. And I'm aware of this, or slowly begin to become aware of this, as the experience continues. A lot. And I kept realizing through the whole thing, God, I've been in here for so long. And I was just so amazed that the experience was so stable, and I was so clear in there for so long that I began to suspect. I looked at him and said, this must have something to do with you. I wasn't quite getting the whole thing. I was picking up in the experience. I was picking up on the fact that something wasn't quite as it seemed, but I didn't know what. I was picking up on that enough to keep asking him questions. So, I asked him his name. He said his name was Sabatonite. But I was asking him, if he was from my reality system or another. At that point, the filter was coming off as well, and I couldn't handle what I saw, as he was letting me know if he was from my reality system. Just before I shifted from the experience back here into my room, he was encouraging me to let go of the filter. He really didn't word it that way. What he was saying had more to do with being in a free state, unencumbered. And he was really putting through this energy. He wasn't just saying the words. It was an energy that was radiating out into and through me. And I'm sure this is what, loosened the overlay I was applying on top of everything, to see things in a way that was more comforting to me. But just before I shifted back, the filter came off. And I'm seeing Seb walk up toward me over my bent, bare legs, knees actually, because I'm laying horizontally on a metal table, and my knees are bent with my feet flat to the table. And so I just sort of see him walk up from behind here as he's walking by. I was realizing so much all at once. I was realizing I had been applying this filter, number one. Number two, I realized he wasn't the human male I thought that he was. Number three, I realized we were never out on the sidewalk and never in that room. That we were here, and what could have been perceived of as a craft, I did perceive of it as a craft. The whole time since leaving my room here. And it was just so much all at once. But he was humanoid. He was humanoid, but as white as paper. I haven't talked about this before. I haven't really felt ready I didn't want to talk about it prematurely because I haven't been able to look into it calmly, because I haven't wanted to instill any fear in anyone. And I really hope that me doing this is not going to do that, because this is all part of the process, and this is what my whole channel is about. My whole channel is about sharing with you the process that a conscious mind goes through during an awakening, during its expansion out beyond the physical terrain. So here we go. This has been happening for a long time. This has been happening since childhood, but not as clearly as it has been happening the past few years. There is something that begins happening with me at the onset of many nights, between the hours of, say, 11 p.m. and 1 or 2. After this, the events change. The type of out-of-body experiences that I have, completely change. But anyway, during this time of night, things are being done to the physical system. It generally is not pleasant. So they were here again the other night, whoever they is. There's just this sort of feeling through my body system. I feel these 3 distinct needling points, like needles being stuck in you. And I feel this, at the front top portion of my head here, just above the hairline. Recently, I've begun experiencing things very physically, much more physically than I normally do. One of the new things that I began experiencing is that I think most of you know the way that I shift. I just sort of really pleasantly, blissfully dematerialize. Things are very non-physical, or typically very non-physical, throughout the years of my experiencing these things. But now they're stepping, toward the physical etheric. And I've been experiencing this type of shift where I feel these beings here in my room with me. It feels like they're literally moving me in my bed. Like somebody has reached up under my arms and is pulling me up in the bed, toward the head of my bed. And then like somebody is physically, turning me over onto my side. And I will just lay here very passively while this happens, trying to see into detail of who's here. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This time I did. I'll sort of be rotated in these various positions. And it generally takes 3 of these very physically felt type moves before I'm fully, out in a whole nother location. In the night, I had an experience. I've had a couple experience, ET contacts and sighting type things in the last few days. But this one happened on the night that I had asked for the healing. And I'll just go ahead and start with that one, I think. So I manifest in a car with 2 people I know. We're driving down the Pacific Coast Highway right here in the Santa Monica area. I'm in the front passenger seat of the car, and I look out to my right over the ocean. It takes me just a minute till I reach a point where I'm sure I am seeing what I'm seeing. The first thing I saw was just a round, cylindrical moon-looking object. Have no idea what it was. And then seeing this is when I have the sighting. I see 3 craft. The 3 craft are identical. They're very close, perhaps 100 yards away, something like this. They are semi-translucent. Opalescent is the word that comes to my mind, when I'm thinking about how to describe them. Just semi-translucent, white, milky, like opal. It shimmers these light pastel-y colors, as the craft moves slightly. Right after the sighting, I dematerialize and materialize on a very familiar street here, Ocean Park, and I think it's 6th. And this is where there is a small residential overpass, and I'm just looking under the pass. There's walls on either side of the pass here toward the ocean. This is a street that looks directly down at the ocean, and I'm seeing a wall of water rise up. So this is another tsunami. Still in the car, still with the 2 people I know. We're heading east super fast, trying to beat the wall of water. When I dematerialize and materialize in what I'm perceiving to be perhaps some sort of military-like, not military, but military-like hangar, possibly 4 craft, when the person who I merged with here asks why we are here, we're told that we're being tested for radiation. So I know at least a part of that was me being tested probably by my inner layers for radiation effects from being that close to the craft. I don't know any details. I can't really go into any details. These experiences completely, just gobsmack me, actually. Just too new, too much unknown to even, begin guessing. The one that happened just prior to this, it's being explained to me that there is a faction of ETs who are involved in a project right now in ending the sleep of many of us here down on the planet. The man who is helping me to understand things at this point lets me know that there are, that not everybody agrees with this being done, with the sleep of certain human beings being ended, them being woken up. And I have no idea why. At this point in the experience, I get really curious just to know the reasoning. I don't know what exactly they're opposed to. If it's a particular type of assistance or interference or something, or an assistance that they look at as interference, or what, so I would have to gain more detail there to know exactly what was going on there. And I won't go into the detail again on the precise things, the many precise things he was trying to help me be clear on. The one that seemed key was that there were those of them who were helping us to awaken, and that not everybody agreed with this being done. That seemed to be the prime key thing. I was taken onto a bridge in the San Francisco area. I don't know which bridge, and I don't know where I was in time. I simply know that the location was one of the bridges in the San Francisco area. I arrived just as the event was about to take place in climax. The waves were beginning to really get rocking, and the bridge was starting to come up, and the wall of water was beginning to rise. I had manifested onto the bridge in a car, and from the back seat of this car, I'm witnessing the event. As I look around at what's happening, there are mass extraterrestrial craft at the site during this event. Right now, I'm not remembering a lot about those craft other than they were disc shaped and very material. But there were hundreds of craft around. And that struck me. I don't know why or what the extraterrestrial craft have to do with these events. That's a question that I currently have that has not yet been answered. The wall of water rose. I was in panic watching the wall of water rise. The wall of water overcame us. We all went under, and just the sounds of the rush of water and the crunching of the bridge and the cars was prevalent in my experience, although at the same time I could feel and hear the thoughts and feelings of other people. The next event happened here in the Santa Monica area. Again, I'm in a car. I materialize in the passenger seat of a car. We're driving along the coast highway. In the area sort of just down off the California grade. And again, I see extraterrestrial craft. This time not in mass, there were 3 craft. And these craft were less material. They might be more along the lines of what people would refer to as light ships. I dematerialize from here and materialize on a nearby street, Ocean Park and 6th. Ocean Park is a street that looks directly down at the ocean, and again I'm witnessing a tsunami. I'm witnessing the wall of water begin to rise. This time, from that location there on Ocean Park and 6th, I'm in a car heading east away from the water, trying to beat the wall of water this time. So I guess semi-differently from the first experience where I'm on the bridge and literally trapped, can't get away. This is going to be something fully experienced. Now in this experience, although very close, 6 blocks from the wall of water coming up, there is a mode of getting away from it. Not that there's much likelihood in that because of the proximity, but the opportunity there certainly is showing itself now that I'm sitting here saying that that's something that I didn't see before. Yesterday morning, I had my 3rd experience. I'm here in the house, and I'm taken up high, very, very high, and given an aerial view looking down at where I am in proximity to the event of the tsunami. And I'm close. I'm very close. So this must be part of what the energies are trying to get through to me. They're trying to show me how close I am exactly to the event of this happening. And for what reasons yet, I'm not sure. That hasn't come through. So one of my very first experiences was what I call an etheric body examination. Some may even call these physical body examinations. They're both. In my view, the etheric body is being worked through, and there is a sort of transfer value effect that is felt and experienced in the physical system. My very first one was just, I had no idea what was happening. I didn't know anything about out-of-body experiences when my experiences first began. And so, I was a bit crazy in my mind. My heart was beating out of my chest. I had been taken out of my room and placed in a room. The room was cold. I felt like I was on just a flat, hard steel table. And I was just sort of screaming in my mind, oh my God, whatever you do, don't open your eyes. It's a lot to deal with, when you're being examined, bodily. And that may have something to do with it, but part of the reason why I'm doing this video is because I want to work through that particular fear. I do want to, or would like to, be able to open my eyes during one of these. I have come a long way, since that first experience. I'm no longer terrified when it happens. I understand that I am existing on multiple dimensions simultaneously, and I am simply meeting with an inner layer of myself. I'm just going to focus in on this part. I felt the merging take place. I almost always do. I felt every cell in my body accelerate. The shift is very short. It does lend me to the idea that I'm simply being moved from my room here to a nearby craft that's possibly right outside. I immediately feel myself being examined. It's a fully sensory experience. It's fully tangible, tangibly felt. That's the height of the sensory experience. But there also is full audio and full everything, really, other than visuals. I am, or I do, attempt to collect while I'm there with my eyes shut. As much visual data from the environment as I can, and as much comes through that I can handle, along with the very tactile, very tangible, examination that's going on, which, of course, has the bulk of my attention. I can feel all of these, not so much hands as I feel just about every area being poked and prodded and looked in, all just simultaneously at the same time. The main areas that I feel being worked on this morning are common to my experiences. But this morning, was the head, the back of the brain. The second area was my nose. It felt like there was this large device attached to my nose, and it had characteristics to it that held my nostrils flared wide open, like as wide open as they could possibly go. Not altogether comfortably, but not too bad either. Like I could feel it, and it didn't scare me, and it didn't hurt or anything. And then also the vaginal and perineal area, which is very common. I know that they're just checking to make sure that I'm okay, and that if they did perhaps find anything wrong, they would simply fix it, and I would get to experience that fix in my physical body, without having to physically go to a doctor here. They sort of do it, they just do it for me. I'm also given various upgrades. I told you about the expanded range of vision that I have. This came about from, one of the upgrades. At a certain point in this experience today, I knew that something key was going to be taking place with work being done, having to do with my brain, my physical brain, and I didn't know if I could actually stay awake and alert through the entire procedure. I didn't know if I had wiggle room to put my attention elsewhere if it got to be too much. I began to feel slightly claustrophobic because I wasn't sure I would have the room to shift or move if I needed to. And just immediately with this thought coming into my awareness, they shift my attention. And now it seems like I'm more like in a day spa, having my head massaged and my hair washed, which was heavenly. And of course, really goes a long way to putting me at ease, knowing that there is a communication going on between me and them, that they are aware of how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and they're able to give me the wiggle room that I need so that I don't feel claustrophobic. Prior to my first conscious out-of-body experiences, I was experiencing two anomalies. The first was a tightness or tension or pain at the back of my head, top of the neck. The other were getting hot feet, most especially going into the night. These two things were accompanied by a recurring dream, a very precise recurring dream that would happen periodically at times, and then a lot at other times. These things happened for a decade prior to my first conscious out-of-body. During this wait time in my physical matter reality, I was also experiencing my range of vision expanding. It took me almost the whole decade to even realize this was happening, because it never occurred to me that I was seeing anything out of the norm. It didn't occur to me that I was seeing anything that other people didn't see. But for instance, I began seeing the particles that compose space and everything we visually see. I began seeing these snowflake-like formations of brightly colored light through people's physical structure. Many other things as well. 360 vision here, and again, other things. But again, it didn't strike me as odd. In fact, very little ever did strike me as odd. I began waking up in the night for just moments into these strong electrical currents flowing through my body. And it took this happening a few times in the course of a week for this to begin staying at the front of my awareness. It had happened previously, but it just went right to the back of my mind and got forgotten. This week, because it happened so many times in the course of the same week, it stayed to the front. I began to see an association with the hot feet. I began putting these things out to people that I knew in my physical reality. And through the process of bringing this all the way through into the physical reality, I had my first conscious out-of-body experience. With the first conscious out-of-body experience, my central nervous system went into shock. It stayed in shock for a couple years. The first year was the strongest. It started to calm down over the course of the second year. But if I were to begin relaying any of this to anyone, my whole body would shake. The main thing at first, in relation to my out-of-bodies, were the shifts. I had fully conscious shifts and was let to witness, or was taken in to witness, the internal workings of the shift itself. I would feel a highly tangible presence merge with me. I'd feel an atmospheric change in pressure and witness myself slowly stop breathing until I was no longer in this physical matter reality. Once I was able to hold the fundamental awareness of this internal working of the shift, I was let to experience many frequencies of vibration. I was let to experience many different types of shifts. The two main types of shifts were the process of dematerializing and rematerializing. And after a while, this became fun. The second was being helped out by other entities. And I could see. I could see how all of this fit together. I could see how these first things, the internal workings and the dematerializing and rematerializing, were simply the internal structure of this experience, and that the entities coming to help me out were the way I was visualizing and experiencing the internal workings, the internal process, that I'm able to hold simultaneous awareness of these processes. And because of this, I know, I see, I experience that there is work being done within my biological structure while I'm being taken out into these other reality systems, into these other visual realities, these other dimensions. It's the void experiences I've been let to have that help me not go into too much fear about this, because I'm let to see from the void how my visual realities are created from the withinness of my own being. So it's less likely for me to go into fear about that. I know it's somewhere from within myself that all of this is happening and taking place. It often is the ETs that help me out. The majority of my experiences right now currently are ET contacts, but they're also visits into future probabilities, merging with other lifetimes, projecting into my own biological structure and witnessing the work being performed there. And sort of in relation to that, the newest thing, beings are attempting to speak through my vocal cords while I'm asleep.
This is
There we go.
I'm showing together communicating.
That is
He
so
speaks through me, and this I'm trying to.
so beautiful. And so you basically meet with him anytime you concentrate, you can have a face-to-face and sort of an additional field with him. Okay, all right, then I'm going to go ahead and step up next. So my main method or modality to achieve the contacts is the out-of-body experience. There are a variety of different ways my contacts occur. Like what Deshanta was saying, when I'm about to have one, I know I have to lay myself down and lay myself down fast, or I'm gonna fall down, literally fall down. So it's like that. I just start to get pulled in really fast, not slow. It doesn't feel like I'm starting to get sleepy and maybe I better lay down in the next half hour or anything like that. It's fast. It's get yourself into a horizontal laying position or fall down on the ground right now. So I usually lay myself down. This is when they're happening during the day. So I'll just lay myself down, and they come into the etheric version of my physical space, and I shift out into that etheric space also for the initial part of the contact. There is a humanoid looking extraterrestrial that is white, just pure white from head to toe, almost like a chalky white, not like paper white, more like chalk white. This one takes me on board crafts and it's like this one is for quick fixes. Like if something in my biological system needs to be addressed and fixed quickly, this one is sent. The craft is in very local space, just above the house. generally not too far up, still in the atmosphere. And I will perceive myself on the table and being examined. I usually don't maintain too much awareness about this, but at least as much as what I have just said. The majority of my experiences with contacts are on the table. So physical, etheric body examinations, they're generally going into this space at the back of the head, up into the nostrils, and the vagina. Always those three areas. It might include other areas as well, but always those three areas were being addressed. There's a variety of different craft that come in sightings I've had. One of the sightings was when I was still in the Santa Monica area. These contact experiences are generally associated with me being taken into views of humanity's future that involve catastrophic events, namely a tsunami in the area in which I was living at those times, which is the Santa Monica, Los Angeles area along the Coast Highway, but also along the whole of the California coastline. So one of the first contacts was on the San Francisco Bay Bridge, and a tsunami was taking place, and there was just hundreds, if not thousands, of ET craft in the sky during this event. That was one. One of them, I was directly in Santa Monica, looking right down Ocean Park at the ocean, and a tsunami is rising again. Just prior to being put there in that position to witness the beginning of the tsunami, I was actually on the Coast Highway just looking at the ocean, and I was the ending of a contact experience was occurring. There was just a craft still there in the sky. I had been on the craft. There was awareness of me having been on the craft, but not a lot of conscious data of what occurred on it. What they wanted me to see was the outside of the craft and the location I was in, which I did. Again, just right there on the Coast Highway, just shortly off of Ocean Park Boulevard in the Santa Monica area. And it was an egg-shaped craft, a teardrop or egg-shaped craft. And it was opal in color, and it had an opalescent color hues that were sort of shimmering off the outside of it, and I'm trying to bring them forward right now. I know it was pink, it was yellow, it was a particular shade of blue, but over this pearly color. Yeah, beautiful craft, one of the most beautiful ones I've seen. The ones when I was on the bridge up in the San Francisco area, those were the traditional saucers. Yeah, and independently manned craft, small craft. This one was larger. I sometimes am contacted by other humanoid, very, very Earth humanoid looking beings that just simply either are not from our local planet or are and are graduated from it and aren't maintaining a similar structure, body structure now as to what they did then. So one of these beings' name is Sokesh. Sokesh comes around sometimes, and is from a here on the planet. When he was here, he lived in the Mediterranean area, and this is where people are wearing just sort of white smocks and sandals, very Jesus era looking clothing. And this is a mentor. This is somebody who helps me understand, in part at least, why I am here, and the energy in particular that I'm here to help bring. It's an energy that comes through a particular, expansion of awareness. And we have these amazing dialogues, sitting next to him and speaking with him. I think I was him in that lifetime. I mean, And that's sort of what comes to me. It's like me talking to me in that body structure, and from its advanced state now to me and where I am here in this earth life carnation. And the feeling that's always there when I'm, in communion with him and communicating is very nice, very special. I think that's probably connected also to some lifetime that I lived as, one moment, as an Essene. So I was taken into a lifetime once where I got to see my lifetime in which my parents were the Essenes, Essene. I had never even heard the word when I had the experience. I had to look it up when I got back. But anyway, it feels connected to that. The indigenous Indians or indigenous consciousness from other planetary bodies come to visit me a lot. So we could call this the Indians. And there's a variety of different ones that come. The very first one who came was Mesahari. When I was very first activated to awaken, Mesahari was who came to greet me into the additional field space. Absolutely perfect, beautiful dark skin, jet black hair tied back at the nape of the neck like a woman, wearing a white sash in the hair, also tied like a woman would here at the nape, and a white loincloth. I know that a lot of what I'm visually seeing in some of these experiences isn't exact to what's there, but the concepts, when any of the beings come and they're wearing stark white, I know they are, quote, my people. And so that piece of data comes through, and often the ones who come through will always be dressed in stark white. I just know they're part of my groups, my soul group, my cluster. And on that, David Bowie, when he passed, he came to visit me. He also is a part or associated with my group, showed up wearing stark white pants, and that's it. And he came to simply tell me I needed to move more, that I was too sedentary. In particular, it would be good if I danced. He also combined his consciousness into my consciousness field and is sharing this experience with me ground level here forward. We invited him in. He wanted to continue in physicality, and we allowed him to do that. So he is a part of the consciousness that is here now with me. And I think is going to be involved in helping me open further my vocal channel. He says I need to move. I need to dance. He's the one that gets me going. Yeah, so a lot of different types and varieties of contacts. I could go on and on and on.